Okay, Jim, let's go ahead and take a look at your small space for April. It's good to see you and hear from you. Hope you guys are staying nice and healthy. So as we take a look at this small space, what I want to pay really close attention to is the turn that basically is going to go from 4 to 5. So you have good tunnel starts here, the lateral send here at jump number 2 looking good every time, getting nice motion away. But coming through here, what I want to watch is it's going to be this turn right here. So from your white wing to your white wing, again, that would be number 4 to number 5. And we're going to pay attention to some striding and which option gets you the tightest turn. Now, where that's going to start to come into play is on the approach to this jump. So one of the things that you want to watch on the approach to this jump is you do want to try to minimize your motion and your shoulder position facing that direction. Because if you start facing this direction as Penny's on the approach, she's going to then want to go out in that direction. So what you really want to focus on is driving straight in and then turning kind of straight back out. So if you look, the plane of jump 2 and jump 4 should be on that same line. You want to try to mimic that line. So you want to come in and do your forward send and then turn and head right downstream to that wingless. What you don't want to do is kind of that triangle path of coming in, going out, and then coming back in here. And we see a little bit of that. So as you step forward, you can see you start to rotate your shoulders here. So now we have you facing more off in this direction. And then when you go to run, you run on a line this direction. All right, so we're going to watch you first. So you can see how you're pushing over more in this direction and not downstream. Okay, so because you're running this way, she's going to run that way. All right, so you can see your line there. So now let's go ahead and go back, and I want you to watch her landing off the jump. So the first thing is she has a pretty big slip. One could argue that maybe it's surface, maybe it's getting a little dewy out, but you rerun the next sequence and it's not there, which leads me to believe that it's a little bit more handling. So she takes off, and then you're going to see she kind of lands and slips and slides there. So one stride to try to get back up. Then she takes another stride out towards the A-frame. So there's 2, 3 strides, and then she takes off. All right, so I think we got to pay attention to both the slip and the striding, and then a really, really nice forward send on that jump around to the tunnel. So that part looking really nice. So now I want to do that as a compare and contrast on this next option, which you do a better job on as far as cueing that turn on number 4, because what you're going to see is she cuts down to 2 strides. So where we just counted and she did a slip and 3 strides, now you're going to see on this one she only does 2 strides, which is faster and more efficient, and stays upright. So again, we have a nice lateral send here. All right, you're coming down. You get some good deceleration and you're pulling away, so you're already leaving to go downstream. Now you do still run more this direction. I would turn and run more downstream here. All right, but when she lands, so there she's landing, watch this, 1, 2, and take off. All right, and good rotation on the front cross. You're already bringing up that outside arm. By the time she lands, you've opened up on that front cross. And then once again, you went really nicely right into that decel, pausing before she taked off to come around here. So if I have to compare these two options, I would say by far in this moment, the front cross is the better choice. What I will add to that is I'm not sure how much of it was the actual front cross and the mechanics of the front cross versus the cueing of that jump number 4. So if you really watch shoulder position and decel on 4, you might be able to get the blind cross in 2 strides as well. Now, same thing here, back to the rear cross, kind of watching strides. Do you see how you're kind of coming through and you're wanting to go in close, over close, over close? You're kind of making a circle. All right, again, I would keep in mind the fact that these two are on the same plane, come out of the tunnel, move lateral, drive to here, and drive right back, because you're really not trying to make this a pinwheel in the sense of a circle, but keeping in mind that the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. So watch this, she lands, 1, 2, 3, and then over. So really what we're wanting to focus on for this is trying to tighten up this turn here and getting a better bend. And then again, a really nice rear cross into the tunnel. So this jump, which is where all the cross was occurring, really wasn't an issue for you. You got nice turns on those. You had good handling on those. It tended to be more the kind of the pinwheel jump, that jump 4. Okay, so we go into the challenge. You mentioned about being late on number 2, and I'm not sure I agree. When you're doing a lead out push, you can in fact wait until the dog physically takes off and still be okay. Basically, what's going to decide when you need to leave is how far downstream you need to go, and in this case, you don't need to go very far. So waiting here actually puts some pressure on and helps to tighten up that turn. So I would argue that no, you in fact did not leave too late, because look, you were still able to get down here. Right here was your last step. So she's about, I would say, equally halfway between these two jumps, and you're already decelling, right? So you've already decelled, you get a nice turn around there and plenty of time for the front cross. So I have to say in this one, I disagree that you were late at 2. I thought holding your ground at number 2 helped with the turn. On any situation of a lead out push, you have to remember that the earlier you leave from the lead out push, the wider the dog's going to jump. So if you would leave earlier on number 2, that'd be fine. You'd get downstream, but the problem with that is you're going to sacrifice the turn at 2. So I thought here the turn at 2 was fine. You know, one could even argue that if you want to get rid of some of that drifting she's doing behind you, that you would stand more to your right and actually hold a little longer. Because on that one, she did actually drift a little bit, but you were also positioned more to your left and giving her more space and more liberty behind you. All right. So again, I'm just going to pause and go back to that part real quick. So if we look at where you're standing, right, and we know that she's coming over the jump, at the part of the jump that she comes over, all this space behind her or behind the jump is wide open. So one would actually argue that if you moved over to your right and stood more inside that box, that you could actually get a little bit more control over that. So I disagree with your comments about number 2, but all in all, really good on this one. Just pay attention to what's going to give you that best turn on 4 to 5 for the small space. Good work.